Van D, a dynamic leader with decades of experience building companies and crushing sales. He's been there and done that.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello. My name is Van D.
Inspiring audiences across the country to do it too. Here's Van.
Well, welcome everybody to the Van D podcast. I'm glad you're here today. So my topic today should be relatable to every industry, because anybody listening to this podcast isn't getting up in the morning and saying, I'm going to go to work today and I'm going to be average. Nobody's doing that. You would be listening to something else. So today, what I want to talk to you about is what top salesmen do, what top producers do. And I know there's something in here that you're going to be able to relate to. So in order to speak with authority and to be able to be relatable, I need to use my business as an example, so you know what works for me and what didn't work for me. So one of the things that whatever industry you're in, I don't care what it is, brand yourself as an expert. Find something that you can do to brand yourself as an expert. So here's a couple things, and this is what top producers do. We want people to know that we're experts. In my real estate business, I didn't want to be known as, this is a dude that sells real estate. I wanted to be known as, this guy is an expert in real estate. So how do we brand ourselves and our expert in our industry? And I'm going to run through these, so hopefully you'll be able to listen to this over and over. Always know current events about your business, like in real estate. I wanted to know any current events that were going on in real estate, locally or nationally, so I can make a strong statement, a feature benefit statement, where I can say to somebody, hey, the interest rates have dropped to 3%. I always wanted to bring something up that lets everybody know when I see them, I'm an expert. So always learn something every day that will make you stand out in the crowd. Another thing you want to do is you want to make positive statements only. Never complain. I don't care what your day is like, how many challenges you have to deal with. Only speak positive statements when you're talking to future customers, past customers, or anybody in your office. You don't want to be known as the guy that's always negative or Debbie Downer. There's no benefit to complain or say something negative about your industry or your job. Another thing that I tried to do, and if you can do this in your industry, please do, align yourself with a charity. There's nothing better than knowing that you're aligning yourself with an entity that needs you, that you can benefit. And I want to tell you, it looks pretty good with your customers too. When they know, let's say, for instance, let's use me. I used to sit on top of a roof and raise money for Children's Hospital. They aligned me with Children's Hospital. They used to say, Van Deeb, the real estate guy who is benefiting Children's Hospital. Another thing is be a conversation starter. You have to talk about what you do for a living if you want people to do business with you. Do not keep your industry, your business, your career a secret. You know why? If you don't talk about it, nobody's going to help you. So always bring up something to people and you be the conversation starter. Don't wait for somebody else to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is stuff that top salesmen and top producers do. Now, I want to tell you another thing. If there's an opportunity for you to write an article, something to do with your career, there's always publications out there that are looking for good, well-written articles that might be of interest to other people. I actually called up a local newspaper when I first opened up my company, and I said, would you guys be interested in me having an article or a article that is every publication that says Ask Van? And what they did is people would write in to ask real estate questions. If I wouldn't have asked, it wouldn't have happened. And I had one, and it was great. People would write in real estate questions, and I'd answer it. And it didn't cost me a dime. The magazine didn't charge me, and I didn't charge them. Another thing that top producers and top salespeople do is if you've got something interesting, Now, this is branding yourself as an expert, ladies and gentlemen. This is letting people know that you're not the average person in your industry. You're the best at it. Contact the local media, news reporters, anchors, radio personalities. If you have something interesting that is worthy, give them a call or write them a letter and tell them about it. If they interview you or they put you on TV or on their radio show, that's free exposure. Experts do that. Another thing is try to learn something new every day. Even if you do this, because if we hold ourselves accountable and we schedule it, chances are we're going to do it. Put in your calendar, your scheduler, from 9 to 9:10 every morning, or maybe it's 11 to 11:15. I'm going to learn something new about my business. Do that and watch what happens. It'll force you to learn something new about your business. So that's just a few ideas of branding yourself as an expert. If you want the full gamut, hire me to come in and visit with you about how to make yourself become an expert in your industry. I've got ideas and I've got proven techniques and a skill set that'll get you to where you want to go. So another thing top producers do, like I said earlier, when you're branding yourself as an expert, get involved in your community. It can be, it's all you're doing here is you're giving of yourself. You have time to do this, and your employer will usually give you the time that you need to do it because it looks good for them too. Schools, charities, any organizations. Like I said earlier, I used to sit on top of a roof once a year and I would advertise it. I would send out flyers to raise money for Children's Hospital. It was pretty darn cool. Pick a passion that you'll be really good at in raising money for. Could be your kid's school. It could be the art department at your kid's school. It could be something with somebody that passed away that's very close to you and you want to help, like with the Cancer Society or Alzheimer's or something like that. But people that are top producers get involved in their community. Another thing that top producers do, ladies and gentlemen, is they use proper dialogue. That's something that I've been working on my entire life to try to make it better. So I try to make strong, accurate statements that if somebody ever fact checked me, they would know that I'm telling the truth. Make strong, accurate statements. Another thing I try to do is I try to avoid the word I as much as possible, unless I'm talking about my abilities. I never use the word I in a negative statement. So let me tell you I'm going to give you an example. So let's just say that you've asked me to sell your house for you. Let's say you want $250,000 for the house. Maybe my statement would be, after doing a market analysis, the market suggests that we list your house at $240,000. I will get you the highest price the market will possibly bear. If you noticed, I didn't want to say, I can only get you $240,000. I said the market suggests that your house be listed at $240,000. I will do my very best to get you the highest price possible. So it's just like in sports. There's no different in what I'm getting across to you. Let's say Nebraska Cornhuskers. If Nebraska wins, what do we always say? We won. Now, if Nebraska loses, what do we always say? They lost. We don't want to put ourselves in the lost. So we won, they lost. Keep that concept, because keep yourself out of a negative sentence. Very important. Also helps you where people will really look at you like you're an authority in your industry. Make bold statements. Top producers, top salespeople make really bold statements. I love making bold statements because I can back it up. I said all the time, I'm one of the most connected realtors in town, and I will connect this house with the most qualified buyer we can find. If you don't make bold statements to your customer, who's going to do it for you? For instance, in my case, if I come over to your house and you're interviewing me to sell it for you, and you say you're interviewing 2 other people, do you think the other 2 people that are coming in behind me are going to say, hey, I see you had Van Dieb here. He's better than me. No, they're not going to say that. You've got to make bold statements. I'm just going to give you an example. I've never slammed my industry. I've never said a negative word to a client about my competitors. But I'm also not afraid to say, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, there's a lot of really great real estate agents in Omaha, but nobody can compete with me. Nobody can compete with what I can do for you, get the highest price possible with little inconvenience to you. That was a very bold statement without slamming anybody. We have the ability to make these bold statements. That's what top producers do. Another thing top producers and people that are at the top of their industry do, we cultivate our sphere. Family, friends, former coworkers, current coworkers, dry cleaners. Everyone you can make contact with should know what you do for a living. Don't think that somebody just automatically remembers what business you're in. I was famous for saying every time I was in front of somebody, I always would say, if you know anyone who would like to buy or sell a house, please think of me. Now, if you time that, if you know anyone who would like to buy or sell a house, please think of me. If you time that, that's probably 2 seconds. Do I have 2 seconds several times a day to try to get people to do business with me? It also makes me look like an expert. The best place to practice being an expert is with your sphere and people you know. Nice tea from Pat at Parkville Media. There better not be anything funny in my tea.
There's not. You're good.
I don't need any help on being weird. So when you're marketing what your trade is, when you're selling your product, I know that your boss is going to give you your curriculum of what you need or your guides and direction of helping you sell your product or your services, or I'm sure your company has some sort of a in-place format. But what's wrong with you being creative? That's another thing that separates top producers from the pack is we're creative. We think of our own things. I'm just going to give you an idea of something that I used to do that nobody in my industry used to do. And I'm telling this to you not to impress you, but to impress upon you. Be creative. Think of something nobody else is doing that you do for a living, and this way it'll make you stand out. So let's say I'm having an open house on Sunday. You know what I'd do? The week before, I would go visit area businesses, and I would give them a flyer, and I would time it from where my open house is to the business I was going to so I could be accurate. And I'd have a flyer with a picture of the house on it and all these wonderful features and amenities about the house. But at the very top, I'd have be home for lunch in 3 minutes, or live 1.2 miles from your office. And I'd go around and I'd take all these flyers to area businesses. So that was a twofold thing for me. One is it helped me get my property sold. But the other thing is it showed the people that I was giving those flyers to, this guy is unique. He's creative. He stands above the crowd. So stuff like that, I'm just using that as an example to help hopefully bring out the creative juices in you. The other thing is too, when you're working, when you're communicating with your competitors, always be complimentary. Every time. You want to be known in your industry that you're one of the good guys. You may be one of the best. You may be a top producer in your industry, but you want to always be considerate to other people. So these are just some of the things that top agents do, top salespeople, people that stand out in the crowd. I want to give you some of the other stuff that is very important. So you've heard the phrase, and I've said it several times on my podcast, the fortune is in the follow-up. Ladies and gentlemen, if there's one thing a top producer and a top salesperson or business person does is they know how to follow up. Did you know that 85%, this is factual, 85% of salespeople never follow up? Are you among the 15% that do? It's so simple. You're going out and you're pitching somebody, but you're not spending the time to follow up with them. This is really important. So one of the things that works really good for me is I love thank you notes. You've heard me talk about that on my podcast. Every time I go visit with a customer, and I mean every time, when I'm done, I try to do it the same day. Potential customer, somebody I'm trying to do business with, or even just somebody that I had a meeting with. It can be anything. I always write a handwritten thank you note. And it may not even be a thank you. It may just be a note. Dear John, sure great to spend time with you yesterday. Please consider me if you ever need my services. Sincerely, Van. That took me a minute. Top producers know that thank you notes, follow-up, phone calls, staying in touch. This is something that we do, and it's something that will help you become really great in your industry. Now, this is the topic, trends of top producers. This is my signature course. If you ever want to get a group of people together, it doesn't have to be a large audience like I'm used to. If you want to get a group of 10 people together, 5 people, and you want me to come and do a 2-hour workshop, a 1-hour workshop, to get your team, your group, your people firing on all cylinders, I would be absolutely thrilled to come do that. We could even do a Zoom call if you want to, but this is my space. Helping people become the best at what they do is my space. So this is what I wanted to get across to you, just some ideas on becoming the best of the best. So I'm going to ask you to please do this. Go to my website, vandeeb.com, and put your email address in there. And once a month, you're going to get my newsletters. These newsletters are for business people, top or salespeople that want to be the best. They're informative, they're empowering, they're inspiring, and at the very least, they're motivating. The other thing I'd like you to do, please, is to please tell someone about my podcasts that are down in the dumps, that could use motivation, that could use some encouragement, or people that want to get more out of life. Please have them listen to these podcasts or send them the link. And don't ever, I'm one of the most approachable people on the planet. Don't ever hesitate to email me with any comments or questions or ways that I can help you. My email is van@vandeeb.com. So I really appreciate you tuning in today and being a supporter of this podcast. So please rate, review, and most of all, subscribe. And help people subscribe to this that need the motivation, the inspiration. I'm very grateful that you tuned in today. Most of all, when you leave this podcast today, think of ways that you can be kind to others. Now more than ever, we need to find ways to make people feel like they matter. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great day.
A Parkville Media Production.